This segment of Healthy Living is brought to you by Radisson Fort George Hotel and Marina. Yes, I can.
Days of the week are...
This is what an average day looks like in the upper class at Stella Maris School.
All right, very good.
For 33-year-old Shireen Belize, her concept of a regular day at work changed dramatically 4 years ago.
After having a strange feeling in my body for about 3 days, finally went to the hospital having a seizure. And it was at that time that they told me that the doctors realized what was the problem. And they said it was epilepsy. When I was 14 years old, I was in a traffic accident. And so the doctor and I, we sat down and we spoke extensively about my history, everything that happened to me. And I did several tests and other things to help me and the doctors to come up with a diagnosis. And it was at that point that they said that, you know, it was because of the traffic accident that is the cause of the epilepsy. It was a real life changer. It was scary. I love life, I love living, and I love being out. And so hearing about epilepsy and not being educated about it, it came as very frightening to me.
Her doctor explained that the accident had left scar tissue in her brain and she was predisposed as she has family members with the condition.
We get up every day and we don't realize how easy it is for some of us to get up and walk and just to have absolutely nothing wrong with us. And then one day you wake up and you realize that if I walk down that street alone, what might happen to me? Am I going to be okay? And then one day you get this diagnosis and it changes everything about you. And it allows you to see life differently and you appreciate every little thing. Being out was difficult for me because I didn't know when I was going to have an attack. I didn't know if I was going to have a seizure. And because of that, I didn't want anybody to see me. It was just me. I didn't want anybody to know. When I'm having a seizure, it's hard to tell the extent that it's going to come. It's going to be a mild one or it's going to be a heavy one. And so going to the shop, I would do that alone. Coming to work, there are people on the bus, so it's not a problem. But doing swimming, things like that, I would not do that alone. The greatest misconception would be that you're on the ground shaking, you're convulsing, you bite up your tongue, you're biting up your tongue, you're foaming. And that's not true. It's not true for everybody with seizures.
In Shireen's case, she has focal point seizures, which she describes as feeling paralyzed within her body and not being able to respond to anything around her. As time progressed, Shireen learned to identify her triggers and adjusted her lifestyle to minimize the seizures. She also takes medication daily. She admits that in the beginning, she didn't want anyone to know her diagnosis, but had to face the fact that she would need to inform the school.
I was scared because I'm a teacher. I need to be around children every day. I need to be around my colleagues every day. And my first thing was, how do I go and tell my principal that I have seizures? What? And so I thought about all the negative responses. Oh, Miss Shireen, you know, you won't be able to teach anymore because we can't have the kids seeing you on the ground. We can't see and so those are the things that went through my mind. But I knew that I had to go to her. Fortunately, she was a very understanding person. And so I went to her office and I sat down and I told her, and she was so understanding and comforting. I've learned what are my triggers. I've learned, well, I can't control it, but I've learned how to deal with it. And so for me, that is the basic, that's the big idea. And so I'm very comfortable talking to anybody about my seizures. I'm fortunate to tell when I'm going to have one. So I have this feeling that comes over me. And so if I'm in front of the classroom, if I'm dealing one-on-one with a student, I quickly remove myself. I take myself out from that area and I go somewhere where I can have the seizure, and when it has passed, I go back into the classroom. And because a seizure does not last long, I'm able to quickly move away and then come back when it's over.
4 years ago, Shireen had seizures almost every day. Now it's down to twice a month. She shares her story because she wants people to know that you can be epileptic and continue to live a normal life.
And if we are disciplined enough, then we are able to live a normal life.
This segment of Healthy Living was brought to you by Radisson Fort George Hotel and Marina. Yes, I can.